Hey, this is Joel Cameron. Thanks for checking out this video. This is a video I wasn't originally intending to do, but once I did the first video on processing room mics, I realized I have two fairly different approaches to processing room mics depending upon what the mix is doing. So I thought it'd be worth showing you the other approach too. And quite honestly, I think it might be more attractive to a lot of people, particularly if you do rock mixing, rock productions. The other one is more for lyrical music or maybe lighter acoustic driven music or something where you want a more natural sense of space around the drums and you don't want a really hyped image. If you've got a heavier mix with lots of guitars, heavy guitars like, distorted guitars, cabinets and things, and the music is overall more aggressive and you want a real image of like the drum room around the drums and a more obvious aggressive drum perspective, this approach is probably going to be more valuable to you. So I just decided to kind of come back and revisit this and share this. So what I've got here, the mix is just basically as I've done up to the room mic, the previous room mic video, with the rooms unprocessed and just kind of blended in. This is what it sounds like. Unhyped, natural. If I mute the room mics, you miss them. So they're definitely there. If I solo them, okay, that's a pair of Coles 4038s. It's real mid-range sounding. There's a reason, for the sake of explanation, there's a reason it sounds kind of mid-rangey. Basically, those mics are probably 10 to 15 feet away from the drums, maybe 8 feet in the air. With that much distance between the source and the microphone, high frequencies like 10K and above kind of get dispersed and lose power in the air and don't really make it to the microphones. They tend to be just naturally attenuated by the distance. The high frequencies are not powerful, so they don't push through the air molecules very well. Low frequencies, on the other hand, are extremely powerful, but they don't dominate a mix like this because they're so powerful, they just go through the wall and keep on going, which is why that's what you hear from your neighbor's apartment stereo. His stereo is the low frequency coming through the walls because low frequencies are very powerful. Mid frequencies, however, are not powerful enough. They're powerful enough to make it to the mic and pass, but they're not powerful enough to get through the wall necessarily. So they bounce back into the room. Therefore, they wind up being the majority of the content from a distant microphone. And that's not bad when it's used subtly in a mix. It can be quite pleasant just like that. But if you want more obvious or aggressive room image, just turning them up, you start to see the problem. It gets really boxy. So, what I'm going to do, there's two things I'm going to do, and they really kind of have to happen together because either one by themselves doesn't really help all that much. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the frequency content to that. And even though up to now I've been subtractive boy and generally approach EQ with a subtractive approach, on room mics I don't. I pretty much throw, whoa, how did that happen? Throw the EQ, there we go. Throw up the low frequency EQ. And that's actually making the output here overload. Someone pull it back some. So that's with low frequency added. That's without it. That's with it. Now it still doesn't sound obvious. It actually sounds a little more balanced. And that's okay in the mix, but it kind of serves to sort of muddy up the low end a little bit, in my opinion. So I'm actually going, now that I've boosted that low end, I'm going to contain that with some rather aggressive compression. Now, I could bite the attack off if I wanted to, but I don't really want to do that. Just for the sake of it, I want you to hear that. I do want some attack, like that. But if you have too much attack, then you're going to run out of headroom before you really get the compression effect that you want. So I want some attack. And then I want a really quick release. Now I'll show you something about low frequencies. I've boosted the low frequencies here, and this is something I think some people don't quite understand, but compression can make things distort, can make low frequencies distort. And it's not distortion like crapping out headroom, like a gain stage overloading or something. It's a different kind of compression. But listen to what happens with the low frequency as I increase the speed or reduce the time of the release. Hear the distortion? Now that can be cool and actually blended in. That can add some character and a little bit of, can draw your attention to it without having to have a whole lot of it in there. So that can actually be useful. But basically what's happening is low frequencies, and I don't fully understand all the math behind it, but I just know that if, and anyone who's got an RNC, a really nice compressor, FMR audio RNC, and use it in WYSIWYG mode on a bass guitar, you've heard this sound. It distorts, and people go, well, RNCs crap out. Well, no, they don't crap out. They're just incredibly fast, which makes it a useful tool. But you got to understand, really, really fast amplitude increase on low frequencies causes this effect. It sounds like distortion. And what's happening on a release under extreme compression is that on a fast release is that you're basically turning up the low frequencies really, really fast. And so it distorts, because that's what happens when you turn up low frequencies really, really fast. So the way to deal with that is to slow the release until that effect is under control. It's kind of where you like it. I like it there. Okay. So I've got EQ, boosting the lows. That's adding actual amplitude, hence I had to pull this back a few dB to keep that from hitting red. And then all that amplitude, all that level is being shoved into a compressor with some fairly extreme settings. I'm getting about 18-ish dB of reduction here, which I like. Fast release, fast attack, but not so fast that you lose the sense of attack. Let's put that back in the mix and see what that does. Mute it. See, that room just tripled, quadrupled, quintupled in size. Quintupled, wow, how often do you hear someone say that? So now, all of a sudden, again, I haven't used any reverb or delay or anything, and the drums are way more bombastic. Now, one other thing that I want to show you, so that's kind of generally the idea. One thing I want to show you, though, is very critical for that effect to have the EQ first. The EQ is in front of the compressor because, again, it's adding amplitude, which is making the compressor work harder. So you're getting a more dramatic compressed effect by having the EQ first, and for the sake of comparison, I'll just show you what it sounds like to reverse the order. EQ first, you can feel the compression kind of just sucking back and forth. Let the compressor come first. Now it's compressing mid-range signal, and then you're adding low frequency to that. So the compressor is way more subtle in what it's doing. And if you put that in with the kit, you actually wind up muddying up the image. Whereas, put that EQ again first, make that compressor work harder. You hear the difference? Swap it again. More subtle compression, boomier. EQ first. More aggressive compression, more room. And so again, I'm a subtractive guy when it comes to EQ. But remember, this compressor is working really, really hard because I'm hitting that low frequency so hard. So when that low frequency kicks the compressor in, I'm getting 18 dB or so of reduction according to this meter. And so the impact of the kick drum, the low frequency impact, is actually being attenuated by 18 dB in the room mic. The room mic's being pulled back that much, but it's being quickly released. So once the kick drum's done doing its low frequency thing, then all of a sudden this low frequency content sort of enters and fills the space. So it makes the overall perspective bigger and richer, but it doesn't necessarily increase in any significant way the overall amplitude of the drum kit. And that's actually probably more than I might use. All right, so hopefully that's helpful. I appreciate you checking this out. Please check out my recording blog at joelsmixup.blogspot.com. And thanks for watching.